God, I wrote a lot about this. WCW Monday Nitro, October 23rd of the year 2000.
We got 45 minutes max.
We got a horrible recap of last week's show. The Perfect Event versus the Heresies. So once again, we've established, at least it took to the end of this match, but Sean Stasiak is the one having a problem with the other Natural Born Thrillers. Chuck Palumbo, actually everyone in this match was a babyface, including the Heresies, except Stasiak. Eventually, Stasiak's not paying attention. He won't tag in. Palumbo gets pinned with the H-bomb. So
who in God's name could possibly care about Sean Stasiak breaking away from the Natural Born Thrillers? Nash is on commentary. He's burying Stasiak. Tony Schiavone says, Nash, some dudes just need a pat on the back. What does Stasiak need? Kevin Nash says, 9mm to the temple. What?
A lot of gun references this week.
And they argue the whole time, and Nash is aghast, and they can't get along. And I was somewhat surprised that Nash allowed himself to be put in a storyline that made him look like such an incompetent geek. Then I realized he probably doesn't care.
That's the key.
Did you notice Nash's shirt?
Hey, yo, it's a Scott Hall shirt he's wearing here.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. It's got a little olive in it, and it says Last Call Hall on the back. So
it's a shirt they actually had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made money off of Scott Hall going to
his actual alcoholism.
Yes. That's classic.
All this happened. So Nash goes back to the commentary desk. He promises that Stasiak will learn tough love from the coach, and it's nothing you'll see on Vivid Video. Well, thank God.
Good.
That's the thing I want to see. All right, I wrote down all of Pamela Paulshock's questions on the show.
God.
It won't take long. Mike Sanders. Halloween Havoc is this Sunday, and you have the opportunity to be sole commissioner if you beat the cat in a kickboxing match.
A kickboxing match now?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That was her question, by the way, the statement. So
he tries it on Pamela. He vows to beat Shad at the pay-per-view, and he says, tonight, I will do a 3-round kickboxing exhibition. Do you know anything about sports?
I do.
Okay. A 3-round fight isn't you against 3 guys.
I know.
Show's so stupid. Why is Mike Sanders doing a kickboxing match with the Shat?
I don't know.
Yeah, isn't that kind of cat specialty?
Mean Gene interviews Booker T. Booker T talks about living on the road, living out of a suitcase, wondering why he does this, and then he hears the people and he remembers why. Scott Steiner's a great wrestler, but a terrible man. He will have the people on his side at the pay-per-view. Going to take care of business. Don't hate the play, I hate the game. Steiner interrupts.
Oh my God. You know how people always talk about the Triple H Booker T feud? And they're just appalled at like the stuff that they did in that feud?
Yes.
Okay. Scott Steiner comes out here on national television. I don't even know if I want to read this, but let me repeat. This is what Scott Steiner said, okay? Scott Steiner said, I'm sick of listening to you talk all this jive. I don't understand a word you're saying. Scott Steiner says your mom's a whore. Scott Steiner says I need an Ebonics handbook to understand your ass. And then he talks about how Booker's champion because he's never faced Steiner.
You forgot where you said Booker T's mom was on welfare.
Oh, I thought the whore part was maybe a little worse. I get wrong.
I just get the details, get the whole picture. I just thought the irony of Scott Steiner saying, I can't understand somebody else's
That was funny
promos.
because later he did a promo right after this, actually, with Pamela. And I didn't understand a word he said.
So they get in a fight, and Jarrett gets involved, and Sting gets involved. The locker room empties. In the melee, Steiner's suddenly trading punches with Mike Awesome. And they go to break. They come back, and Pamela Paulshock says, Big Papa Pump. It looks like Mike Awesome is not waiting for Monday night. He wants a warm-up match tonight.
That's what she said.
What the hell is Monday night?
Well, I'm not sure, but the impression I got from watching this show is that Mike Awesome is getting a title match on Nitro next week against whoever wins at Halloween Havoc. Which, if that's the case, this is an even dumber show.
That's the best I can do. Yeah, here's what I wrote about Steiner's promo. Steiner is barely coherent comparing Awesome to a lamb going to slaughter.
Yeah.
It was much, much, much less coherent than any Booker T promo. So we get Mike Sanders' kickboxing duel.
3-round kickboxing exhibition.
He says at the pay-per-view, he quotes Bad Street USA. I don't know if Michael Hayes has just been fired or what. But he says, "You'll find out what it means to be SOL, and you know what that means." Well, that makes no sense. So
It's been their catchphrase for like 3 weeks now.
But you'll find out what it means, and you know what it means.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Right.
Well, you know what it means, but you're going to find out what it means.
That's stupid.
Scott Steiner can say, "Vince, I'm going to beat your ass." Okay? You know what that means. But you don't know what that means till he beats your ass.
Oh, I think I do.
You know what I'm saying?
Are you comparing Mike Sanders to Scott Steiner?
No, I'm just saying that's what he's trying to say here.
So
It's the least of our problems.
Mike Sanders' 3 rounds are 3 1-minute rounds against each of the Young Dragons.
Yeah. Who, they explain, are all masters of the martial arts.
That's what they say. In actuality, none of them are. So this is 3 short wrestling matches where Mike Sanders is wearing headgear and boxing gloves. He has also gimmicked his boxing gloves with some sort of nasty fluid.
Ether, I guess.
It's rubbing alcohol, but when he rubs his boxing gloves in their eyes, they go blind and he punches them out. So he rubs the boxing gloves in, who went first?
Jamie went first, and then Yang, and
Yes.
then Hayashi.
Yes. And then Hayashi jumps him, knocks the helmet off, but Sanders is still able to blind him and punch him out. Leia Meow
gets in the ring, and she goes to kick him in the balls, and he reaches into his pants, and he pulls out the cup.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes, "Oh no!" I'm like, kick him in the balls again.
Right.
He took the cup out. You know what I'm saying? Instead, she just sits down in fear. Then he puts the stuff on his glove again.
Hey, you put the stuff on the cup.
And Miss Jones is out there. And even though whatever it is, if you put it in someone's face, like they're just all woozy and unconscious, he points to Mrs. Jones and he holds up the cup full of the stuff and he goes, and he smells it, but it doesn't affect him.
What?
He is below average.
Well, I'm not. It's not that you smell it, Brian. You have to get it in your eyes. It's a blinding substance.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes, that was made abundantly clear during this match. So
Nothing was abundantly clear during this match, Vinny.
as the cat is confronting Miss Jones, or as Sanders is confronting Miss Jones, the cat zooms in from behind, hits his wacky spinning kick, crotch chops her a bunch, and leaves. All right, I will just read the last line of my notes here. I am appalled, in all caps, at how entertained I was by all this.
Well, what I wrote was, the segment absolutely sucked, because it did absolutely suck. But for whatever reason, when Shat hit the ring and kicked him, the place just went absolutely crazy. They went out of their minds for Shat kicking this guy. And so it was like, the hell do I know?
I wrote a total waste of time.
It
All
got
right,
over.
3 very just wildly different opinions. Chronic comes out for a promo. They say they were hired, and when they say that, I presume they mean by the Natural Born Thrillers to face Goldberg or whatever, but
Sure.
they are the most unstoppable force in WCW, and they knew Goldberg's ego would not let him refuse a match, even against Chronic. But now this has gotten real personal. Goldberg can take his winning streak in his career and stick it.
Can't believe how much you wrote about this. It's a Chronic promo. An
does-
argument broke out and then a match.
This does keep
Against
going for
3
a long
count.
time. So they announced that 3 Count hired them to protect them for tonight. 3 Count says, because we hired these guys to protect us, we'll get to perform a whole album, to which Brian Clark clarifies how many songs are you going to do, and when they say we're going to do them all, Clark says, you didn't pay us that much money, and the match starts. Chronic versus 3 Count. Brian Clark did the best meltdown of all time to Shannon Moore in this match. It was 20 seconds. They pinned Shane with the high times. Kevin Nash.
Oh, God.
What did you mean by Sean Stasiak and tough love?
Kevin Nash goes, Stasiak's going to get a second chance, a test. He says, it's real simple. And as soon as he said that, I just knew. These are famous last words. So this is Nash's plan, which is so simple, okay? He says, either Stasiak gets his head in the game, or he'll leave without it. What's going on? It's so simple, I don't even know what's going on now. Then he starts talking about Scott Hall. I was like, go away. Hall has received his walking papers. He says the outsider gimmick isn't a work. It's on. The outsiders will write again. I'm like, you're being paid. They're paying this guy so much money to just make a mockery of all of this.
Yes. Yeah, he was so annoying on this show.
My favorite was when he quoted a line from Last Temptation of Christ, but he quoted Willem Dafoe instead of whichever biblical character it was.
Right.
MIA comes out.
Oh, God.
So
this. Okay.
They're mocking Team Canada, okay?
Are they?
This is straight out of WWE with terribly unfunny comedy.
This is
the
so much-
announcers have to fake laugh at
This
it.
is so much more unfunny than anything.
And
WWE.
then, in the highlight of the night, huge erection says, "We just took your dignity."
Yeah.
False.
Huge erection said, "We took your dignity."
After
with
being
this skit.
out here for 10 minutes, getting not a single laugh the entire time.
Painful.
We took, like,
Painful.
that honestly took balls by Huge Erection to
Yes.
say with a straight face.
That's the point.
Yeah.
His name is Huge Erection.
Corporal Cajun was dressed up as a moose, had a giant rack. So I'm guessing he was supposed to be Major Guns.
He at one point pointed out there's no one for him to imitate, so he was a random Canadian moose.
The moose has a rack, and so does Major Guns.
Yes, correct. She has large breasts.
So Pam is with Mike Awesome. Would you like to read her question?
I sure would. Mike Awesome, whatever you did earlier to Scott Steiner really ticked him off. And now he wants you in a match tonight.
Okay, so then Awesome does this bizarre promo.
I'll say.
This is where I'm pretty sure he said he gets a title shot next Monday. I'm almost positive. He admits that he took Pam on the Love Bus. She's appalled that he made this public, even though we've seen like at least 3 different segments where he was dragging her into the Love Bus. Now she's appalled that it's public. That was a segment.
Yeah. The Natural Born Thrillers come out. Nash is doing this promo.
About Scott Hall.
All about Scott Hall. Crowd's chanting Hall's name. Mark Madden says, "Guy gets a pop that big, he should be here." And Stevie Ray says, "Madden."
Kevin Nash says, Hall and I, arguably, the greatest tag team of all time.
That was funny.
I'll argue that.
Every one of the announcers had to say, it's tough to argue that one. He's right. They're the best tag team. I'm like, dude, come on. The best tag team of all time.
Even if this was real. So,
I believe his point was, to be a team, you must be a team. And Stasiak is not part of the team.
what he said was,
and so he's going to go it alone tonight.
Hall and I showed what a team was. Shoot and work.
Get out of here, you idiot.
So yes, if you don't want to be part of this, you can do it alone. And as he said that, Goldberg's music hits.
So apparently Nash and Goldberg are in cahoots.
I guess.
Here we go with the cahoots again.
He kills Stasiak. They say he's 12-0. And earlier, I believe that Nash said if Stasiak didn't deliver, he was going to be beheaded. That did not happen.
Man, that's not thunder.
It's true.
Goldberg promises in 6 days he will drive both of Kronik's asses into the mat. It always took 2 of you to take out 1 of me, but at Havoc, you're both next. The Boogie Knights cut a promo.
Okay. Disco gets in the ring, okay? He has an announcement. We are going to get to the bottom of this, he says. We are going to find out who let the dogs out and where they are at. It is as silent in the building as it is here in this room when he says this line. And it was one of those things that was so painfully cringe that it was funny.
Yeah. I get it.
It was like, I've never... listen, I've been watching wrestling for a long time, and I just watched that MIA skit. I don't think I've ever seen something fall flatter than this joke by the Disco Inferno. And he just barreled on. You know what I'm saying?
It may not have been the first time one of his jokes fell flat.
I was impressed.
You keep going until it gets funny again.
It was so ballsy to try this, number one. In New Zealand, right? Weren't they in Australia?
No,
where were they?
They're back.
Oh, they're back? Okay, I saw koalas at the beginning of the show. I guess it was a recap from last week.
Yes.
But Jiminy Christmas.
So there's a 3-way tag match at the pay-per-view. So they did a 3-way here with one guy from each team. Alex Wright versus Billy Kidman versus Mark Jindrak. It went 2 minutes. A big giant 6-way brawl breaks out, and Kidman pins Wright with the Kid Crusher, which is the kill switch.
Yeah.
And then the brawl breaks out, and the Filthy Animals clean house, and that was that.
Literally. I'm not making this up. Kidman pins Alex Wright, and Mark Madden says, none of this means anything.
Thanks, Mark.
That's what he told me.
Well, he's right.
I mean, he is right, but don't tell me that. That makes me want to turn the channel.
It does make this all seem like a waste of time. Crowbar. Now that you're Mike Awesome's tag team partner, the fans want to know, how's that working out for you? Which is like the closest thing she's gotten to an actual question yet. Crowbar says, I'm just over here polishing my staff. He and Mike Awesome are wearing out the shocks on the bus every week. There's always room for Pam on his bus. And Jimmy Hart runs up and tells Crowbar he is booked. And Crowbar thinks this means women. And he leaves.
And Pamela says, and I quote, the chicks are after him?
Pamela's so horrible.
It's like, you've been on the bus.
With Mike Awesome, though.
I mean, well, yeah, but he's on the bus too.
I guess so.
That was made abundantly clear.
Well, that's weird.
That's a big bus. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Madden calls Pam a fine thespian.
Did anyone on the show not hit on Pam? I'm pretty sure every single person who was interviewed by Pam hit on her.
I'm sure they did. He does the Scott Hall toothpick thing, which pops Stevie Ray. We get like 3 minutes that is just videos hyping up the pay-per-view. I was blown away. They're trying to sell a pay-per-view.
Yeah, with a god-awful lineup.
They're doing their best.
No, they're not, Vinny. they're promoting something bad. I guess you could say that's doing. I mean, they're doing something.
They're doing this pay-per-view with the idea you will want to watch it.
They are promoting their pay-per-view.
Yes.
They are not doing their best.
Fair. So it's David Flair versus Buff Bagwell. Goldberg versus Chronic. I do like that Russo has disappeared from this show, but it is still his edict that if Goldberg loses, he is fired. They're sticking with that. Jeff Jarrett versus Sting, and Steiner versus Booker T. Crowbar versus Vampiro.
This was so bizarre.
That's exactly...
First, Vampiro takes literally like 2 minutes to walk down the ramp. I don't know what took him so long.
Well, clearly they had a lot of time to kill. Something must have gone very short.
So they start doing this match, and for the first few minutes, it's there. It's Crowbar, the 70s Crowbar, against Vampiro. I don't know why I'm watching it. They do this spot, which was the funniest thing I ever saw. Crowbar gives Vamp a clothesline. And when he hits him, Vampiro does not bump. He stands there. But then he turns in a complete 180, and then he falls down. I watched it like 10 times. I was like, what was this? So I'm just like, oh my God, they're brawling outside. I'm so bored. I don't know why no one's getting disqualified. I presume it's no DQ. And they keep wrestling, and they keep wrestling. And all of a sudden, it's like, good. Mm-hmm. And they're like beating each other's ass. They're working their asses off. The crowd is like super into it for some reason. They're doing all this crazy stuff. And finally at the end, Vampiro gives him this big choke slam off the DJ Rand's thing through a table. The place just goes absolutely out of their mind. The referee stops the match. Tony Schiavone says, we've never seen anything like this. Okay? Which is a complete lie, but he was so into the match that the way he said it, I actually believe we'd never seen anything like this. He was so excited about this match. And by the end, I was like, that was really good. Am I wrong?
No, it was good.
It certainly was a spectacle, and there's no doubt they beat the hell out of each other. These men suffered damage in this match. There's no doubt about it.
The thing you have to think about, Vinny, is this was the year 2000, okay? Mm-hmm. So if you didn't buy a lot of pay-per-views and see, like, the TLC matches, and if you didn't get ECW on your television, like, This was a super crazy match, the likes of which you probably had never seen.
I did watch the pay-per-views and get the television. This was a super crazy match.
Yes, this was just amazing, actually.
So go ahead, Craig.
I was going to say two things. This is Vamp coming back from an injury. And also, Druids came out with the table
Yes. Vamp
to set up these double tables that that Crowbar was going to go through.
Presume Vamp has Druids.
Apparently?
Because I don't think there were Druids in the 1970s.
Okay.
I'm just going to
I'm
read...
pretty sure there were druids in the 70s. And probably a long time before that.
Definitely before that.
Yeah. He is a vampire.
I'm just going to read some of the things that were said on commentary during this match. Stevie Ray is frantically trying to find out the opening spot was Vampiro taking out nunchucks and beating Crowbar with him and not getting disqualified. And Stevie Ray says, "What are the rules, Tony? Sucker's gotta know." And Tony says, "Well, suckers gotta know, but sometimes suckers don't know." They keep going. They're fighting. Like 10 minutes in, Stevie Ray says, "To this point, Tony, we don't even understand why they're fighting each other." Then they get in the ring and start doing holds. And Mark Madden says, "This is too weird. 1 minute they're using stairs and guardrails. Now Crowbar is using back suplexes and splashes."
Yes.
They keep doing stuff. Stevie is beside himself. Why won't the referee? What are the rules in this match?
I don't know.
No one had any idea what was going on.
No, but they worked their asses off, and the crowd was into it.
It was
and
not
they popped big
boring.
at the end. Yes.
So Vampiro does a promo.
On the Nitro curve, this was 2 thumbs up.
Well, that's actually a fine point. Vampiro does a promo. All of this, he finally explains what the 20 minutes after it started, he explains what the point of all this is. This is all because of Mike Awesome. Crowbar's blood is on his hands. He shows video of the last time he was on Nitro when Mike Awesome powerbombed him out of the ring through a table on the floor. And then he cuts a great promo on Mike Awesome, challenging him to a match at Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, and then he says, after all that, he goes, "Be there or be square."
I missed that part.
Hey,
What?
I thought it was a good promo. I thought it was the best segment on the show. It was the only thing that felt like it wasn't a waste of my time. I liked it.
It was good.
Speaking of waste of time,
Yes.
Conan comes out and does every Conan promo you ever heard. Shane Douglas comes out with his arm in a sling. And Stevie says he's hurt very badly, Tony. Or maybe Mark, but somebody says he's hurt very badly, and somebody else says, again. Madden says Shane has broken every bone in his arm and had them surgically removed. Mm-hmm. That sounds serious. So Shane and his one arm and Conan cut a promo back and forth on each other forever.
I could have sworn that Conan didn't believe he was hurt, and then finally, after daring him to fight, he admits, "I talked to the trainer, and I know you're hurt."
Yes.
And so he was gonna let Shane not wrestle. But then Shane tries to attack him with his cast.
Yes.
And so they have a match.
For a while. Did you mention where Conan offered to give Tori a facial?
I did not mention that.
Happened.
That was in there.
And this was a shoot, brother, because Shane kept calling
Carlos.
Conan Carlos.
Let's get serious, Carlos. Everything about this sucked.
Man.
So it's one-armed Shane Douglas versus Conan in the year 2000. Oh, by the way, even though they're doing this match, apparently they're still doing the match at Halloween Havoc, so the broken arm is going to heal in 6 days. Match is not very good, of course.
No.
Conan locks the cast, the arm in a cast, in a wacky lucha submission, and Shane Douglas, the foul-mouthed bastard, he won't quit. He's too proud and too brave and a hero. He's just crying out Tori's name. Eventually, he gets a chain somehow, hits Conan a couple times, hits a franchiser. Well, this was awful, I wrote, as Shane won. And then, because it's not enough, Tigers goes after Tori. This was a horrible segment.
I'll say. And boy, Conan facing a guy with one arm gets beat.
Yeah.
What a geek.
Yeah.
What a geek.
Right before the main event, Tony Schiavone, who of course had spent time in the World Wrestling Federation, notes the passing of Yokozuna and best wishes to the family. So our TV main event is Mike Awesome versus Scott Steiner. And at some point, somewhere, Scott Steiner got an idea. You know what would be cool, he says to himself. What if I came down the ramp on a totally random Nitro with a goddamn tiger? So the Scott Steiner and Medeja and a couple of tiger handlers and a fucking tiger.
Cool.
And the tiger comes out, and the tiger sees all those people and all these lights. Tiger says, fuck this. And the tiger tries to get backstage. And Scott Steiner and the tiger handlers are trying to power him back on.
I know Cody got some heat recently for bringing a dog out with a bunch of pyro. There was a tiger in the aisleway, and there was pyro going off.
My wife and I just watched a special on Siegfried and Roy.
Oh, my.
And all I could think was, these are all so lucky that this tiger didn't maul anybody.
Can you imagine if he went on a rampage and just jumped in amongst the fans?
Dude, this is Nitro. Anything could have happened.
Absolutely.
There's no limit. Until that tiger was full. That's when it would have stopped. So, thank God they were able to maintain the tiger's composure, get it down just to the end of the ramp, and then get the hell backstage, back into his cage. Steiner, now he must cut a promo. He's going to beat Booker Havoc. So, for the most part, Steiner and Austin had a fun little TV match. I guess there are just no rules in WCW anymore, because Medeja just gets in the ring and starts kicking Austin right in front of the ref. She grabs his boot at one point.
She not only kicked him, she kicked him over the top rope.
Yes. Yeah.
What?
So, Awesome is going for the running powerbomb out of the corner. Medeja grabs his foot. This distracts both Awesome and the ref. Steiner hits a pipe shot, hits the avalanche angle slam, and Awesome does kick out of that, but then he puts him in the Steiner recliner, and Awesome is done, and the show abruptly goes off the air.
Okay, so I'm still not sure if Mike Awesome is getting a championship match next Monday.
Don't know.
I don't care enough to check. That's like the key. But if that's the case, boy, can you imagine? Mike Awesome's getting a title shot next Monday. Let's beat him the prior Monday via submission.
Of course.
This show is horrible. It's like a different kind of horrible from the Russo shows.
It's a much more tolerable level of horribleness.
It's more tolerable, but it's still horrible. It's like we went from really horrible and nonsensical and stupid to just horrible and nonsensical and stupid. But not really. You know what I mean?
I do not get angry at these shows. I say, well, whatever. I shut down my computer and move on with my life.
I just get bored.
Yeah, I was always miserable in the Russo shows.
Well, let's do this finishes report
and get out of here. The finishes on this show were: clean pin when a guy walks out on his partner. 3 knockouts with use of a foreign substance in a kickboxing exhibition. Clean pin in a 2-on-3 handicap match. Clean pin. Clean pin in a 3-way. Ref stoppage after chairs and stairs and guardrails and tables were used in what I guess was a false count anywhere street fight where you can still win by TKO. Pin after a one-armed man hit a guy with a chain a few times. And in the main event, submission after pipe shot.
Well, there you go, everybody. That's Retro Raw and Nitro from 19 years ago this week. You know, now that NXT and AEW are on Wednesdays, the shows are even harder to watch.
You're not wrong.
Oh my God. I get to watch great wrestling on 2 different programs tomorrow. And then I gotta watch terrible SmackDown, which is just so boring. Raw is there. And then Nitro. It's a horrible, horrible triple whammy. But tomorrow's AEW and NXT, which will be good, hopefully. And Vinny and I will recap those on Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow with Dave, Observer Live, all the usual stuff, so check that out. And that is it, everybody. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Adios.